ahead and mute you.
16 participants. I don't see Jean here. She's got a couple of minutes yet.
Ooh, Amanda, is that a Devil's Lake?
Yeah, top of the East Bluff. Good
Nice.
one.
It's beautiful.
Okay.
Randy,
I'm
if
really-
you're-
What's that?
Oh, I was just going to tell Randy to turn on his video so we can see him if he has.
You see me?
I'm really in the Village Hall lobby.
Oh, right.
Oh, there's Devil.
Police, do you want me to start video?
Yeah, go ahead. There's Jeannie.
Hello.
Hi, Jeannie. Someone's got a loud bird in the background.
Oh, it's my clock. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
Oh, there she is. I think we have everybody.
Okay, and can everybody see the packet? I'm scrolling here.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So I think, Jeannie, I think we have all the board members on, and I think we have all of the department heads.
Okay, cool. And it's 5 o'clock. Zoom you all out here. Okay, are we ready? You guys can hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Ooh, Candy, are you our note taker today?
I am.
That's exciting. Okay, so so it's 5 o'clock. This is the village board meeting. It's Monday, May 4th, 2020. If you look at the agenda, we have all sorts of instructions of how to join this meeting. And so those are all on the agenda online. So I will do a call to order and a roll call, please, Candy.
All right. Bollig,
Bollig present.
Carpenter,
Yes, here.
Donovan,
Here.
Bush,
Here.
Horton. Is Horton here?
See him. He is here.
Okay. Jacobson
Here.
and Peterson. So we're going to want to make sure they hear us, right? Did you hear me?
Oh, hang on.
Yep, you're unmuted now.
Oh, hi. Yes, I'm
Okay,
here.
and-
I had the chat thing open for a second and I hit spacebar to unmute, but it just made a bunch of spaces because I was typing. Anyway.
All right. And then Corey can hear us, right?
I can hear you. My connection is kind of going in and out. So if I don't respond, that's probably why.
Okay. There we go.
All right, thank you, Candy. So this is the time that we have community input. Is there anyone that would like to do community input? Candy, did you get any emails or anything?
I am unaware of any emails.
Okay. All right. We will leave that there in case anyone decides to join us later. Item number 4, we have village boards organizational meetings appointments. So item A, congratulations to David Donovan, Jerry Bollig, and Amanda Peterson for winning re-election. Congrats.
Thank you.
You look super excited about it
Good
too.
job.
Yes. All right. Would anyone like an oath of office administered? Okay, I'm going to go with a no on that. Da, da, da. All right, item 6. Village residents interested in serving at any of the following committees, commissions, boards should submit a completed village application to Village Administrator Michael Grace. Applications may be obtained online on the village website or by calling 835-3118. So we have openings on the Oregon Area Fire EMS District Joint Board, on the Park Board, and on the Police Commission. So encourage community members to become involved. Item number 7, confirmation of appointments. This is the announcement of the village president's appointments as follows. There's no board action required, and nothing has changed from the last year. So you all are on the same boards and committees. So I'm not going to read all those unless you want me to. They're all listed on the agenda. So that gets us to item B, which is nomination of appointment of a vice president. Do we have any nominations for vice president?
Jeannie,
Yes.
can I nominate Jerry, please?
All right. We have a nomination for Jerry Ballig. Are there other nominations? Yes,
I'll
Jenna.
second that.
Oh, okay, sure. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I guess, do we need seconds? Well, I didn't.
I don't think I have nominations, but that's okay. Are there any other nominations for anyone else? Any other nominations? And going one more time, any other nominations for vice president of the Oregon Village Board? All right, so we have a motion to elect Jerry Ballig, and we have a second by Jenna. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Guess what, Jerry?
I guess I'm stuck again, right?
Notice I didn't ask you if you wanted to accept the nomination.
I do. I will.
I figured you. Yeah,
I
I
will
figured you'd
accept.
pipe up. Okay, cool.
I will
All right.
accept.
Okay, so Jerry is our vice president. All right, so this we have board action required, so I will read this out loud. This is approving 1-year appointments as follows: village attorney Matt Dregney and Richard Eade, Stafford Rosenbaum LLC; prosecution attorney Tim Spearschneider; cemetery superintendent and sexton Jeff Rao; forester and weed commissioner Jeff Rao; building inspector Tony Fackler from Safe Build Inc., zoning administrator Elise Cruz, and zoning administrator alternate Jeff Rao. So I need a motion to appoint these folks for 1 year.
Jeannie, before you start, can I make one request?
Sure.
Can we handle the village attorney separate from the others? I have had a personal experience with Richard Eady that I think will influence my vote, and I just as soon abstain from that one as compared to the rest of us.
Sure. Okay. So,
And Jeannie,
yes,
this is
please.
Matt.
Yeah.
Can I just Dick Eady really hasn't been involved in doing village business for quite a few years now. So I was going to suggest, I don't know what Mike thinks, and I didn't really realize Dick was even showing up on the list. I was going to suggest that we strike Dick's name and add instead Laura Callan, because as you know, Laura and I have been working together quite a lot on village work, and that would make more sense to me.
That's a good idea, Matt.
Okay. So then would someone like, so we'll strike Richard Eady, we will replace Laura Callan, and we don't have a motion yet, so that shouldn't be a problem. Any other changes on there? Otherwise, I'd entertain a motion to approve all of those folks.
I'll make that motion. This is Amanda.
So I have a motion by Amanda,
Corey will second.
second by Corey. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. All right. So now I need a motion to approve the Oregon Observer as the village's official newspaper.
David Donovan will make the motion
Thank
to
you.
approve.
Thank you.
Jenna will second it.
All right. A second by Jenna. Any discussion on that? All those in favor say aye.
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 Thank you. Motion carries. All right. Next is board action designating legal posting areas as Village Hall, Post Office, and Library. So I need a motion for that, please.
I'll make that motion, Amanda.
Okay. So I have a motion by Amanda and a second by Jenna. All those in favor say aye.
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 Motion carries. Thank you. Next, we have a board action adopting resolution number 20-17. This is a designation of financial institutions and depositories and authorized account signers. So someone make that motion, please.
I'll make it, Jeannie. Randy?
Yep, motion by Randy,
It's Amanda, I'll second.
All right, second by Amanda. Any questions on that one? All those in favor say aye.
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 Thank you. Motion carries. All right, item G, we have a discussion of possible action regarding the Identity Theft Prevention Program for 2020. Please note this is a requirement and is recommended by the auditors. Candy sent us some paperwork that we need to sign and get back to her for that. Do I have a motion to approve this?
Randy,
So
will
moved.
approve.
All right, so I have a motion by Randy, second by Corey.
Sure.
Any questions on this one? All right, all those in favor say aye.
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 Thank you. Motion carries. All right, item H, we have board presidents' recommended appointments to committees, commissions, and boards, and this is requiring board approval. So I'm going to go ahead and read all these, and then at the end, I'm going to entertain a motion that we approve the appointments for items 8I and L through 8I. Oh, I'm sorry, 8I1 through 8I12.
And
Unless someone-
Jeannie, there's a
Seven.
there's a typo. There should be 7H, not
gotcha.
8. Yep.
All right.
Sorry about that.
That's all right. Okay. All right. I will breeze through these because I don't think that there's any changes on these.
That's
All right,
correct.
yeah. All right. All right. So here we go. Planning Commission, Greg Schnelly, Mark Sievertson for 3-year terms, Eric Smith back for a 1-year term as an alternate member. Item 2, this is the Historic Preservation Committee, 3-year terms, Arlen Kai and John Bano. A 1-year term is Tony Fackler as the ad hoc member from Safe Built. Item 3, this is the Park Board, Corey Horton for a 1-year term as the Village Board Rep. Item 4, this is Zoning Board of Approvals, Zoning Board of Appeals for 2-year alternating terms, John Bano, Janet Murray, and Jerry Bollig. This is the Board of Review for a 1-year term, Jerry Bollig, Jenna Jacobson, Amanda Peterson, Corey Horton as Village Board members, and Peggy Haig as the Village Clerk. Item 6, this is to the Cable TV Committee. These are all 1-year terms. Amanda Peterson as the Village Board Rep, Andy Weiland from the School Rep, Mark Miller, Uriah Carpenter, Judy Knutson as a Chamber Rep, Paul Zwicker, Program Coordinator, Tom Kirchdorfer, Chair, Carly McWilliams, and Michael Hautzinger. We have appointments to the Room Tax Commission, a 1-year term, Jeannie Carpenter from Village Board, Adam Coyle as a Hotel Rep, Judy Knutson as a Chamber Rep, Jamie Bush, and Debbie Verhulst. Item 8 is the Fire EMS District Commission, 1-year terms, Randy Glish and Jenna Jacobson. Item 9 is the Fire EMS Joint Board, 1-year term, Mark Sievertson. Item 10 is a 1-year term to the Oregon Council on Aging, David Donovan. Item 11 is a 1-year term for the Village School District Cooperation Committee. There's no need for appointments at this time, but we can always reactivate that committee as we need to. Item 12 is approving the Oak Hill Advisory Committee and Oak Hill Master Plan Committee, a 1-year term to Acting Chief Jennifer Pagankoff. So does someone want to make a motion to approve all of those?
David will make a motion.
Thank
Jenna
you.
will second.
We have a motion by Donovan and a second by Jacobson to approve. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Motion carries. All right, public appearance, we have none. Item 9, approval of minutes from March 16th, 2020.
Jeannie, I'll move approval.
We have a motion by Randy for approval,
Amanda will second.
second by Amanda. Any discussion on those minutes?
I actually did notice that I put the incorrect date in the beginning. So I'm going to be correcting that to the
Oh, yeah.
the 16th instead of the 20th.
Okay, thank you,
I
Andy.
caught it today. I'm like, oh man. So
So does someone, so we already have a motion, so we'll just, we'll approve the minutes with that correction, Candy, thank you.
okay.
Jeannie, I'll be abstaining since I wasn't present.
Okay,
I'll abstain also since I wasn't present.
okay. Then all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye,
Aye.
opposed? And we have 2 abstentions from Horton and Donovan. That carries. Item 10 is approval of vouchers. We have a voucher list for May 4th, 2020. Candy, can you scroll down for me so I can see what the total is for that? Thank you. So we have a total of $481.71. Does someone want to make a motion to approve that for discussion, please?
Bollig will make that motion.
Dave will
Alright, so-
second.
All right, so motion by Bollig and a second by Donovan. All right, discussion or questions?
I have a question, but Candy will need to scroll a little bit till I get to that. I'm looking for the voucher for Stafford Rosenbaum, and it's the one for COVID-19.
So
Yeah,
Jerry,
that one.
this is Mike. That's we're using Matt and Laura's help preparing those weekly updates. And we really needed their help to help us interpret their interpretation of the federal laws at the beginning. So there's a lot of hours involved in that.
I was hoping there was.
Yeah. And actually, to Matt's credit, he discounted the bill pretty significantly too. So
Okay. All right. Keep scrolling, please, Candy.
It's actually Elise that's doing the fabulous work, just so
Okay,
you know.
thanks, Elise. Go back, please.
All right, tell me when to stop here.
I guess I should have gotten a hard copy of the bills. Okay, the blower and upgrade project. Is that the final bill for that from Town and Country?
Oh, no. No, that's just part of the engineering. The engineering contract on that is almost $100,000.
Okay. So more to come? Is that what I'm
Oh, yeah.
hearing? Okay.
Yep.
All right. Thank you.
Welcome.
Amanda, you have a question?
I do. Item 5470. It's McCann's sewer and drainage, the park's portable toilets. I'm wondering if that's a contract thing that we have to pay every month, because I would figure at this time we wouldn't have any of those open.
No, we do. We have, it's a contract that is, we have a couple of different services we use in different parks. So like we have the porta potty out at Keller Alpine Park, and we have them at a couple other locations as well.
Are they being used now? I mean, with the
Oh, yeah.
COVID-19, really?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because we have our parks closed and like the restrooms there.
The trails are open.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
Okay.
we've kept them open just because they're honestly a single use. A single person use, and it's not like a group kind of thing, and we're not really disinfecting that, on a routine basis or anything. So yeah.
Okay.
It's a fringe area. I'll acknowledge that.
Okay. Thanks.
Maybe not unrelated to that in a way, but is there any liability for the village if we're not disinfecting on a regular basis with regards to COVID-19?
yeah. I don't know if Matt heard that, but David, I'd say no.
Yeah. I know that's an issue with a lot of the businesses that want to reopen as a liability.
Mm-hmm.
Are we looking at that on a regular basis?
The liability issue?
Yeah.
We're going to start talking about maybe in this or next week's update or information that we have the reopening of village buildings and the liability and all that.
Okay.
But yeah.
All right.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
Any other questions on vouchers tonight? All right, Candy, then I'd ask for a roll call, please.
All right. Peterson,
Yes.
Jacobson,
Yes.
Horton,
Yes.
Glish,
Yes.
Donovan,
Yes.
Carpenter,
Yes.
and Bollig.
Yes.
All right, thank you. Item 11, proclamations and announcements. Do we have any board comments? Jerry, what's the name of your
Randy.
cat?
Oh,
This one?
Yeah.
That's Grace. I didn't include her in the roll call, but she's just so curious that if I try and keep her away, she'll just howl.
Yeah, that's all right.
Randy, this is Jeff. Do you want to make a comment to the board or board comment on Oshkosh, Nebraska?
That's on the agenda.
Oh, it is.
It's coming up.
Okay, sorry.
All right, then we will move on to staff comments. We have an upcoming virtual meeting, May 18th, 2020, the Board of Review at 4 o'clock. And everybody should know if they're on the Board of Review since I just read it. So staff will be managing that via Zoom, right? Right, Mike?
That's correct. And then that sort of leads into the next item, Jeannie, is about they're asking that we not have a board meeting like we've typically had the last couple of years and move the board meeting to that Tuesday, the 19th, if we could.
How does that work for everybody? Meeting on having a
19th,
village board meeting on May 19th.
Works
for me.
All right. Do you need a motion on that, or are we
No,
good?
I just want to make sure it's okay, everybody.
Okay.
And then, Jeannie, I wondered the thing I got from Judy. She just wanted me to announce that Summerfest has been postponed indefinitely. And let's see here. She's also saying they're going to discuss having the fireworks at a later period. So.
Okay.
Yep.
Probably a wise decision.
Yep. Thank you.
All right, then we'll move on to item 12, which is communications and miscellaneous business. Item A is discussion and possible action regarding the acquisition of the new village phone system. We have a recommended motion. The village staff is recommending that we approve alternate 1, moving forward with its current information technology consultant, Computer Magic, to implement a phone system village-wide. So Mike, or Candy, do you want to go through this a little bit before we have a motion?
Candy, you want to do it, Candy?
Well,
or do you want just maybe you had a great memo, but just maybe summarize why you came upon that recommendation?
Yeah, so basically, just summarizing, I guess, the memo. So sorry if you've already read the memo and have to listen to this again. But we have thought long and hard about this phone system, and there's a lot of components that are involved with this phone system or implementing a phone system. And one of the things that we actually brought back to the department heads was how beneficial is it for the village to spend a lot of money in infrastructure costs to upgrade these buildings that possibly, hopefully, will be replaced over the next few years. So as you know, our phone system is 20 years old, and a phone system shouldn't really last that long. We shouldn't be waiting this long to get to this point. So hopefully within the next few years, as we know where the buildings go or put into place, hopefully we have a new library, right, over the next couple of years, we'll have more of an insight of what we'll actually need in those buildings. And at that time, we feel that it's appropriate to hire a firm to come in and examine our IT and phone system needs at that time. So that's where we'd like to focus, like, the RFP process on. So I guess that basically, and I should mention, as I did mention in the memo, our phone system is basically on its last leg. And we don't want to get stuck in a position where it goes completely down. And then what are we going to do? We're going to be spending whatever it takes to get it done, right? So that's basically it. And I should mention that this is a timely process too to even implement a phone system. Up to 2 months, they said it can take from different vendors that have told us about this. And as you can see listed out in most of the advantages, how we came to this is Computer Magic knows our system. They know our buildings. They know, they're available 24/7. they're very responsive to tickets we put in right away. And I think that's basically it.
Questions for Candy or Mike? I would entertain a motion then to approve alternative 1.
Dave will make that motion.
Okay, thank you.
Amanda will second.
All right, so we have a motion by Donovan, a second by Peterson. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries.
And I just want to say thank you so much so that we can keep this moving forward and hopefully have a new phone system in the next couple months.
Yes.
Yeah, me too.
Well,
Thank you, board.
we'll definitely need it for the upcoming elections. I'll tell you that.
All right, thank you for your work on that, Candy. Appreciate it. Item B, we have a discussion on possible action regarding shared services agreement with City of Fitchburg and Oregon School District for future middle school site immediately north of Prairie Mound Cemetery at Highway MM in Fitchburg. We have a recommended motion that we authorize the village attorney to prepare an initial impact analysis of the village, providing water and sewer for the future school site in Fitchburg. Mike, anything you want to say about this?
Just to make sure that everyone knows where we're talking about. So this is the vacant property. If you're headed north on Main Street, MM, and you pass the McDonald's and you cross into Fitchburg, if you turn to your right, there's a vacant farm field between there and Highway 14. That's the property we're talking about that the school purchased for a new school site. So make sure you knew that was. So I think Matt wanted to make a few comments, if you don't mind, Jeannie.
Sure, yeah. Go ahead, Matt.
Okay, I had to unmute. Mike, is this where I should kind of outline what we talked about earlier today?
Would you please? Yeah.
Yeah, yep, okay. So as many of you know, or probably know, as a general rule, municipalities do not extend water and sewer service beyond their limits without requiring that the land that's being served be annexed to the municipality. And there are, a number of reasons for that. It is typically in the municipality's best interest to not provide service beyond its borders, because then it ends up serving land that tends to box it in and that competes with development within its own limits. And so as a general rule, municipalities say, look, if you want water and sewer, you need to annex to our community. This is a somewhat unusual situation, in part because the city of Fitchburg is an unusual city. As you may or may not know, the city of Fitchburg is a city as a result largely of a Wisconsin Supreme Court decision that was made back in, I think, 1985. That Chief Justice Heffernan at the time said it was the worst decision that the Wisconsin Supreme Court ever made. In any event, it did make that decision, and now City of Fitchburg does exist. And Mike can tell you that, Mike has participated in a number of lengthy and difficult discussions with the City of Fitchburg over, for example, the development of a joint business park, along the kind of border between Fitchburg and Oregon, just to the north of Main Street, for example. Yep. And when you've got two incorporated municipalities next to one another and you're trying to deal with development with shared services, it can be complicated. It is complicated. The first issue that I think the village board is going to have to make a decision about, or one of the big issues, is going to be, the kind of foundational question will be, should the village agree to extend water and sewer service to a school built outside its corporate limits or not? In other words, should the village say, look, school, you need to convince Fitchburg to detach this land to the village as a condition of being served? I'm not saying that that's what you should do, but that's obviously a foundational question that'll have to be addressed as part of this process. Assuming the village says, look, we now are open to considering extending water and sewer service to this area, but we have to think about what kind of impacts that would have on us and think about how to deal with them. And one of the reasons, of course, it's more complicated is we're now talking about development on our border, but outside the village limits. So the tools that the village would ordinarily have to manage a development project like this, it would not necessarily have. You would not have the same kind of zoning and development related process that you could use to deal with development if it were in the village. So I've worked with Mike on trying to outline, what are the big issues that we would have to deal with. The first issue is goes to the question of being a public utility that is extending water and sewer service outside the village limits. And would we have to be concerned about, if we do that, having an obligation to serve not only the school site, but other land outside the village in the city of Fitchburg in this area, because now we've held out service in this area. And the conclusion we've come to after analyzing that is that current Wisconsin law would allow the village to limit its service obligation to just the school site, but we have to do it carefully. We would need, I think, an agreement with the city of Fitchburg and the school that that's the only area that we're going to serve. We're not going to serve anything else. And we would need to adopt an ordinance that would delineate, our service territory extraterritorially, so that if, for example, another property owner to the north of Main Street in Fitchburg, for example, came to us and said, I'd like to develop 2 in Fitchburg and I'd like water and sewer, we could decline to provide that service without being compelled to provide that service because we're a public utility. So I think there is a way to manage that issue, but we would have to be careful about doing it. If we just went ahead and extended water and sewer without an agreement, without an ordinance delineating our service territory, we could be subject to an obligation to continue, to serve other properties in that area. So that's item 1. Item 2 really asks, what are the financial impacts of providing water and sewer service to a new school on this Donaldson property, Donaldson site, and then how would we address those? So the issues that we've identified so far include the following. 1, I think the village would need to look at its wastewater treatment plant capacity and also its plans for building additional capacity or upgrading the treatment plant and how it intends to finance that, and ask how the school fits into that process. So do we have capacity? Are we expecting other development to pay, for example, a connection fee to help fund future wastewater treatment plant upgrades? And if so, how would we recover that from the school if they're developing outside our corporate limits? Similar questions would need to be asked with respect to our water system. We also would need to ask whether the school should be required to pay a fee for the West Side Sanitary Sewer Interceptor. Am I getting that right, Mike? Is that the interceptor?
That's correct.
Yeah. And so these are all kind of direct potential cost implications of providing sanitary sewer and water service to this area in the city that I think we would need to evaluate both from a capacity and cost standpoint. And then if there are in fact impacts that we need to address, we'd have to address those in a development agreement with the school district. And I think as a condition of providing those services, we'd have to reach an agreement on how to deal with those issues. So that's the next point. Then the question is, are there other financial or service related impacts that arise from serving the development of a new school on that site other than water and sewer? And there may be. One would be, for example, transportation related impacts. So, even the plan that I think Mike shared with me that I think maybe is the school's current plan. They are showing, for example, the extension of North Prairie Parkway. I guess we'd have to talk about, gee, is that something that makes sense? We think maybe it is. We'd want an agreement to make sure that that gets done and gets paid for. And then are there any other traffic related impacts? I mean, a school site can generate a fair amount of traffic. So do we need to have a traffic impact analysis done to understand what that looks like and to just decide how it should be addressed? And again, I think we need to do that before we provide water and sewer, because that's really our only leverage to get that kind of issue addressed. We wouldn't have any other zoning or planning review of the project. So road infrastructure is one item. Next, police and fire service impacts. I don't really have my hands around this. At one level, I'm thinking, well, it's in the city of Fitchburg, so presumably the city of Fitchburg would be responsible for providing fire and police protection. On the other hand, it's immediately adjacent to village limits, and the village would be in a position to respond more quickly to something. So as a practical matter, who would serve that? I mean, do we know that Fitchburg would be the first responder in all cases, or do we not know that? I think that's something we want to maybe get our hands around and deal with. Are there any impacts on the youth center or the library? I don't know. If so, how would we deal with those? And then are there other land use regulatory impacts? Stormwater management is obviously a big issue in the Village of Oregon. We wouldn't have any authority to regulate this from a stormwater standpoint if it's developed in Fitchburg. Are we okay with that, or do we need to deal with that? Site design and layout and site plan review. Would we want to have a say in that here, or are we okay not having a say in that? And then signage. It seems to me there might be a question about signage and how that ought to be handled, and do we want to have a say about that? So those are the issues that, assuming the village decides, yeah, we're willing to work with the school on providing water and sewer service to this area, but we have to do so in a way that addresses potential impacts on the village. Those are the things that we've identified that we think we want to at least look at, and those would probably need to be addressed through an agreement. And so in some ways, this is not unlike another large development project, on a 107-acre development with a significant project. A lot of the issues are the same, but what's different is instead of doing it in the usual, land division and zoning approval process and building permit process, we're having to do it in an agreement that deals with extending water and sewer to this site. So that's it. I'll stop, and if you have any questions, I'll try and answer them.
And Jeannie, I should have mentioned at the beginning why this is on the agenda is that Dr. Bussler a couple of weeks ago reached out to me and to Pat Marsh, the city administrator in Fitchburg, to start working on this potential agreement. That's why it's on the agenda tonight.
Okay. Okay, so we have questions from Amanda first.
Two questions, actually. One is, does the school district pay taxes to the various municipalities where they have buildings, like property taxes?
No, school property is exempt from paying local property taxes. And, that's one reason why looking at a school on this site is different. If this was a private development that was generating tax base, I expect we'd be looking at it rather differently than a school site.
And I forgot my second question, so go to someone else. I'll think of it again.
Okay.
Bollig has a question.
Yes, Bollig.
Yes. So am I understanding this correctly? So the village would get zero tax revenue from this?
That's correct.
Okay, and the village wouldn't have any jurisdictional control over this property?
If it remains in Fitchburg, correct. Yeah.
Okay. So did the school, did anybody from the school, any of the major officers of the school, did they contact the village before they bought this property?
they mentioned they were looking at 3 or 4 sites at one point, but not this one in particular, that they
Okay.
reached out and said they're going to buy it. They were looking at 3 or 4 sites, I believe, in Fitchburg.
Okay. Matt, what are you expecting that our costs will be from your firm for this process? Just this part of it.
Well, it depends on what direction the board wants to go, but if the direction from the board is to work with the school district in Fitchburg to develop the agreements that would be necessary to go ahead and serve this area in the city and protect the village's interests, you know, I think we're looking at a process that could take 6 to 12 months, require quite a bit of time. Of course, it's hard to know exactly how it would go, but I mean, we're talking, this is going to be in excess of $25,000, I would say, by the time we're done. That would be my guess.
All right. And again, there's no revenue coming from anywhere to offset this. And plus, we're going to have additional costs for police, or possibly for police and fire, possibly for road infrastructure. I guess the point I'm trying to get at here is I don't understand what incentive the village has to even get involved with this.
Yeah, well, I guess you have to ask what happens if the village says, so the village could say 3 things. 1, we're not willing to work with you to have the school at this site, even if it is detached to the village and it's in village limits. We could say that. So school, you bought 107 acres that, you know, we're not going to serve, whether it's in the village or not. Or you could say, hey, we're willing to serve it, but only if it's detached to the village, so it's in our corporate limits. Now, either one of those answers, the practical reality is that really puts the school district in a difficult position. Obviously, if the answer is no matter what, then they bought 107 acres that is undevelopable, period, and they're just going to have to find another site. So that I'm just suggesting these are the implications of the decision. So, you know, we're either saying go find another site or go to Fitchburg and tell Fitchburg only if this is detached to the village, or which, you know, may or may not be achievable, frankly. I mean, the city of Fitchburg may just not be willing to go there. The other thing that I think is interesting here is even if it were detached to the village and were developed in the village, it's still not taxable. So now you've got a school site developed in the village that's still not generating any tax revenue. So then the third option is, well, we're going to work with your school to try and make this happen, but boy, we got some issues we got to work through to make sure that, you know, we dealt with things in a reasonable way from the village's standpoint. And yes, that will cost. So, I mean, those are the choices that you're presented with. It's either under no circumstances or only with detachment, or, okay, we'll work with you, but boy, it's going to take some time and money to get there.
Again, my point is that they didn't approach the village before they bought this property. And now they're trying to make us the villain in this issue, because if we don't cooperate, or choose not to cooperate, or choose not to even be involved, then the blame is on us. But again, I don't feel so bad about that, because they didn't approach us and say, hey, let's open up this, we're thinking about this property, you know, and this is what these are the impacts to the village. Are you interested? You know, before they even bought it, they should have had that discussion, is my point. And so I'm really not looking too favorable on this at all.
All right, thanks, Jerry. So I see I have comments from Amanda and Jenna and David too, or not?
Yep.
Okay. Amanda, did you think of your second question?
Yes, I did. Thank
Okay,
you.
sure.
I know, Matt, you said that this Supreme Court decision shouldn't have gone down like this and it's unusual. I'm wondering if there's any sort of precedent that we could look to. Has this type of thing happened anywhere else in Wisconsin so that we can use the good and the bad and the ugly from that and not reinvent the wheel entirely?
Well, when you ask if this type of thing has happened, do you mean where you've had a township incorporate and then the school districts say, we want to build a school just outside the village and get water and sewer?
That's very specific. I just meant where a municipality has extended water and sewer outside of their municipal boundary and had some sort of agreement with another area.
Yes, in fact, the village currently has a couple of cases where we've done that. But so one example is we provide sanitary sewer service to the Oak Hill Correctional Facility. We do that pursuant to an agreement, and we did that in a way that has allowed us to limit our exposure to any. We don't have to go beyond that. I think our ordinance delineates the service territory in a way that allows us to serve Oak Hill Correctional. As I believe, though, Mike can help me with the history. I think Oak Hill was there, and they had a problem, and they had a need for sanitary sewer, and we met that need. But I don't think that they came to us and said before they built and said, "Can you provide sewer so can we build over here?" Mike, is that right?
Well, that actually happened before I got here, so that tells you how long ago it's been. But I think that was there a long time ago, Matt.
Yeah, so there was an existing correctional facility, and they probably were on some kind of private septic system or something and had a problem, and they came to the village and said, can you provide sewer service for us? And the village agreed to do that. So that's one example of the village. And then another example is Foxborough Golf Course. Again, it was an existing operation. They had a clubhouse, they had a golf course. They must have had a water issue because I think they came to the village and said, could you provide village water to our clubhouse?
That's correct.
And the village agreed to do that. Again, we had to do it, as I recall, the village was careful to do it in a way that would not expose it to a broader service obligation. But we did. Those are the only two instances I'm aware of in the village of Oregon.
Yeah.
And of course, there are examples all over the state where, communities have agreed to provide services extraterritorially. And I'm not here to say we shouldn't do that. I'm here to say doing that is something that would raise some issues that you'd have to think through. And if you chose to go that route, we could do it. We could get through the issues, but there are some legal and some financial implications that you just want to deal with.
All right, Jenna?
I thought they weren't going to build a school for like 4 or 5 years. This seems kind of early. Is that is that not accurate? Or
I believe of course this is before COVID-19. I think they were looking at doing a referendum in 22 or 23, and then the school comes, 2 years after that. So it'll be with that schedule, it'd have been a school in 4 or 5 years, Jenna. So that may be pushed off with COVID-19. I'm not sure. That'd be a good question for them.
David, do you have questions?
Yeah, yes, a couple. One's related to what Jerry was talking about. The other is, just for clarifications, do we know for sure that the city of Fitchburg is unwilling to release this property for annexation into the village, just this specific piece of property? I know they've been hesitant in the past on industrial development, but this is something different in the sense that there's no tax revenue generated, and it would allow us the opportunity to address one of Jerry's concerns, and that is who has jurisdictional responsibility over this property.
I have never raised this. Now that the school owns this property, David, I've not raised that with anyone in Fitchburg about detaching.
I wonder if we shouldn't ask that question right at the very beginning to avoid the need for the agreement if we decide to go forward. Not that I'm supportive of it, because as much as I want to help out our taxpayers, and I think that's part of the reason why they want the Village of Oregon to serve them, is if we don't serve them, the city of Fitchburg is going to have to pay to drop a sewer line and water lines down here to serve them, or they're going to have to go on their own well system. And I don't know how that would be done. But I have some significant concerns, not necessarily with the idea of doing this piece of property, but the traffic issues that are going to come after this. There's going to be additional development around that school. That's going to put additional pressure on it, that exit out of the village or entrance into the village. And we have no control over that. It's all on the city of Fitchburg. And if they don't decide to maintain it or provide access or provide the safety, the people that are going to develop homes around that school, they're going to cause a lot of problems. Especially if they extend North Prairie Park, where it's, in my sense, that's, you're going right through a residential development. That's not an answer to this.
David, everything you're talking about is all the things that came up during the 3 or 4 or 5 attempts to do a joint business park, because this whole area is so far out of the city's service area. And that's why the city of Fitchburg has always been reluctant to have something happen down here. And so, for example, the property that's on the other side of MM, that's north of McDonald's, that's still a zone A, and that was not changed as part of the comp plan. The school property was changed to institutional, but not north of McDonald's. So Fitchburg sees this as still an area that's not going to be developed for quite some time.
I don't know that I'm ready to approve moving forward on this unless I know for sure that the village of the city of Fitchburg is unwilling to detach that property and allow it to come into the Village of Oregon.
Thank you, David. Corey, did you have a question?
Yeah, just I guess a little bit adding to the conversation. I echo what other people have said, that I wish the school district had talked with us a lot more about this before purchasing this parcel. Ultimately, I think, you know, the cost for Fitchburg to extend water and sewer to this location is likely cost prohibitive for the city and for the school district. I guess, you know, that leaves us in a very tricky situation. I mean, obviously we're in the school district, our residents, you know, have their kids go to these schools, and but at the same time, we need to be sensitive that we're not undertaking a whole bunch of expenditure on the city's budget to, you know, basically entitle a parcel to make it much more valuable for the school district. You know, it's just a real tricky situation at this point. From my perspective, I don't know that annexing this, and, you know, gives us a whole lot more control than what we would have if we just work out a very detailed, solid agreement. You know, annexing it, we're then obligated to provide all of the city services to a parcel that doesn't even collect, you know, taxes for it. So it's just a very complicated situation that, you know, I think we just need to sit down and start the conversation. So I guess my question is how much is the school district ready to come to the table with all of the additional costs that this is going to create? You know, water and sewer and our plant being at capacity, and, you know, traffic and all of the issues that were discussed. How willing are they to, I guess, help pay for some of those costs? Do we have any sense of that?
No, not at this point, Corey.
Well, I guess we need the dialogue to start, is my perspective. Yep. I guess.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Randy, go ahead.
Well, just a couple. I agree with Corey. I don't know that the annexation gives us much. I'm wondering if I am curious what would be the impact that we're talking about on analysis, the impact of this. And would Fitchburg be willing to help us pay for that? And even if we did that, doesn't necessarily mean we have to say yes. But it is curious, I would be curious, what's the impact? I mean, there's lots of things that we talked about that Matt mentioned that will have to be compensated for financially if we were to sign an agreement. So I guess those are just my comments.
Jeff, do you have something?
Well, I just want to throw into the mix here. The other thing that does play into this is part of our facilities plan, and you've sat in on some presentations from our engineers about that. One of the things that we are considering is a potential connection to Madison Met up in, and one of those alternatives involves a large interceptor, which is actually owned by the city of Fitchburg, that the ultimate design, we're talking, could be many years out, would bring that interceptor, that gravity sewer line, down to MM. And at least, I don't know if you can move your cursor around, yep, right around there, kind of up in that area. One of the things that is preventing us from even kind of considering that interceptor line is A, it's owned by Fitchburg, and B, the bringing it all the way down there could be very difficult and costly for our residents. And so I do think, as we talk and look at the possibility of bringing in upwards of 1 or 2 school, whatever it is, schools in this area and other facilities, school related up there, I think this does play into that whole discussion on advantages and disadvantages. I think there are advantages to a joint type of school in this area that would help us maybe sharing some connection costs and everything for this interceptor. That's just, I just want to throw that in there because I think it's something that is floating around out there and something we're working with MMSD on, just some alternatives right now.
Yeah, Corey.
Just a question for Mike or Jeff. Has anyone discussed this parcel and getting an urban service area amendment with CARPC? Because that is going to be a huge process in and of itself, won't it?
Yeah, so once again, I had one call with Dr. Bussler and Pat Marsh week and a half ago, Corey, and like lasted 15 minutes. So nothing's been worked on regarding this at all.
Yeah,
I
go
guess
ahead.
because, we could invest a whole bunch of time, working out an agreement and all the details of what we're going to do. And then this could go to CARPC and they could say, no, we're not going to allow you to serve that area. So I think we need to be careful that we don't spend a bunch of money and have this not go anywhere.
Yeah, this is Matt. One thing we do with a private developer who comes to us and says, I'd like to do a development is we in many cases require them to enter into a cost reimbursement agreement that says, okay, we'll work through these issues with you, such as a CARP-C amendment, other, traffic impact analyses, wastewater treatment capacity analysis. But, you've got to agree to cover those expenses. So, I mean, that's a possibility, given that the cost is a concern, and it should be. That's one potential way to go to deal with that, is to say to the school district, hey, school district, you're going to have to agree to cover these expenses.
Let's see. So we have a recommended motion to authorize the village attorney to prepare an initial impact analysis of the village providing water and sewer for the future school site in Fitchburg. Is that the direction we want to go, or do we want to have Mike have another conversation with Fitchburg before we do that?
Jeannie, this is Dave. Oh, sorry, Mike.
Go ahead, David.
I had another question before we get to your action, and that was to address Corey and a couple of other comments. I don't think just sitting down and getting the discussion going is going to solve anything if we don't know exactly what the city of Fitchburg or the school district really wants to do and is willing to do to cover our costs. I don't think we should incur any cost. As Matt said, we should have something on the books that says we're going to get reimbursed. Now, the taxpayers are the same, many of the same taxpayers. They shouldn't have to incur this cost either unless we know exactly what the city of Fitchburg is going to be willing to do and what the school district is going to be willing to do with regards to covering our costs and addressing some of these issues.
Mike, do you have any?
And maybe that gets to what Mike was going to say with regards to he should go back to talk with the city of Fitchburg and the school district just to see where we really are on all this.
That's my suggestion, Jeannie, is that if you just, I think at this point, why don't you allow me to do that? And I have another call with Brian and with Dr. Bustler and Pat next week before the it would be before the next board meeting. I'll give you an update at the next meeting. I can almost, I'll just hold my opinion. So.
Well, you can share a summary of our discussion here.
I've been writing them down.
And our concerns.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I would echo other folks' thoughts that if we do go forward with an impact analysis, we're not paying for it. The school wants this school to happen. They can pay for the report, in my opinion. They can pay the attorney fees. I'm not even willing to split it. I'm just not. I mean, this is not in our interest at all. So
exactly.
if we're going to go down this road to try to be a good neighbor to a school, then I don't want to spend taxpayer dollars on it.
This is Jerry again.
Yeah, go ahead, Jerry.
I've been trying to get your attention here.
Oh, sorry, dude.
No, but I've been doing raise hand on this screen here.
Your cat's in the way.
Nice try. Nice try. No, I just want to reiterate the fact that this whole discussion, we're spending money on this tonight already. We've got Matt here and we're going to get a bill already. So the costs have started to accumulate. This should have all been worked out by the school system before they closed on this property. So I don't have a lot of sympathy for the school if this blows up. And the school has purchased property before and then not done anything with it. I mean, we've got the property over by the West Side Park that's just been sitting there for years. And I don't know what they're going to do with it, but and I have mixed feelings about Mike even sitting down with the school because, again, the school just says, hey, we want you to we did this and now we want you to help us work through it. Again, should have been done before they closed on the property. So I would like to also hear Mike's comments that he started to make and then stop. Mike usually has some pretty sage advice in these moments. So,
well, if I say that, but yeah, Jerry, what I was going to say was, I think I should, at least communicate to Dr. Bustler and Pat Marsh the board's comments. I think I should do that, and I think I should on the phone call. What I was going to say, not trying to sound like a wise guy, was don't expect Fitchburg to pay something for our impact fees. If someone's going to pay for it, it's going to come from the school district. Fitchburg's going to go. I mean, again, this is very similar to the joint business park exercise that we went through with Fitchburg. Both parties paid our own costs, to work on those agreements, and I think that'd be their reaction as well. So
no, I don't think we should even think about Fitchburg contributing anything. They won't.
Yeah.
So. If you want to still talk to them, though, I guess I wouldn't.
I think I should do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a courtesy. Yep.
I mean, you got so much time on your hands,
absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. So Jeannie, I would say I don't think there's a need for a motion. I think at this point the board should just have me talk to Bustler and to Patrick Marsh, and then I'll come back to the next meeting with another report.
Okay. Does that sound all right to everybody?
Yeah,
Yeah.
tell them that the property's in Fitchburg. Talk to them. Make him a happy guy.
Yeah.
All right. So then we are going to move on. We're going to go to item 12C, and this
Yep.
is a discussion of possible action regarding a
Can we-
reclassification.
Can we hit the pause button for a second?
Sure. Yeah.
How do you recommend, or how does staff recommend that when we want to speak, rather than just
Oh.
blurting in, how should we get your attention?
Oh,
I mean,
I'm
we've
sorry,
got-
Jerry. You can,
we've got-
if you
we've
want to
got-
raise your hand on like the screen like this, that's what I've been doing. For
Oh,
folks.
okay. All
Yeah.
right.
Thank
Because
you.
there is this icon for raise hand.
Yeah, I know. It's really
I don't know
small
what
though. I
happens.
need new glasses.
I don't know what happens when you do that.
Jerry, your
Okay.
cat's been in the way.
No, just wave at me. I've been trying to keep track here. All right. So thank you. So item C is discussion and possible action regarding reclassification from receptionist to receptionist/clerk assistant 3. We have a recommended motion after a positive performance review to reclassify Melissa Woodson to receptionist/clerk assistant 3 with an increase of 50 cents retroactive to 2/26/2020. And after another positive performance review, provide an additional increase of 50 cents effective 8/26/2020. Note the 2020 budget includes funding for these adjustments, and the approximate budget impact is $1,700, with 20% of the adjustments being charged to the water and sewer budgets. Does anyone feel comfortable making that motion?
I'll make a motion to approve. Randy.
And I'll second it.
I have a motion by Randy and a second by Jerry. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item D, we have a discussion and possible action regarding Resolution 20-18, amending the 2020 salary schedule for reclass of receptionist position to receptionist clerk assistant 3 with increases effective February 26th, 2020 and August 26th, 2020. We recommended motion to approve Resolution 20-18.
Jenna will make that motion.
Thank you.
I'll second. Randy.
So, thank you. So we have a motion by Jacobson, a second by Glish. Any discussion on that? All those in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item E, we have discussion and possible action regarding the First Amendment to agreement to undertake development to the Ticey campus. So background information, the village's agreement with Ticey had to be amended due to the refunding of state trust fund loan for the campus project, which is now being financed by a taxable general obligation refunding bond. So we have a recommended motion to approve the agreement.
Jeannie, I'll make the motion to approve.
Thank you. We have a motion by Glish. Is there a second?
Amanda will second.
All right, second by Peterson. Discussion. All those in favor say aye.
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 Motion carries. Thank you. Item F, discussion and possible action regarding a sponsorship agreement, J.C. Park West renovation project with Oregon Brooklyn VFW Post. We have a recommended motion to approve the sponsorship agreement with the Oregon Brooklyn VFW Post.
Dave will make that motion.
All right, we have a motion by Donovan. Is there a second?
Oriole, second.
All right, second by Horton. Any discussion or questions on this? Amanda?
Just a question. Who is responsible then for like raising and lowering the flags and stuff? Does the VFW do that, or Park or our Public Works, or what?
VFW would take care of the flags.
Okay, I was just curious about the ongoing, maintenance,
Okay.
raising, lowering, all that.
They could be lit too.
Yeah.
But they could potentially be lit also.
Likely would be.
So there'd be like lighting costs possibly. Okay.
Potentially. I mean, this is, we're far away from designing it at this point.
Sure. No, I mean, I like the idea of it. I just wanted to be clear about what we're approving and what future costs might come from it.
Yep.
All right, so we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Item G, we have discussion and possible action regarding the Farnar asphalt change order number 1. We have a recommended motion to approve change order number 1 from Farnar Asphalt in the amount of $36,207. Do we have a motion for this?
Corey, I'll move to approve.
All right, so we have a motion by Horton,
Vandal, second.
second by Peterson. Do we have questions on this change order?
Jeannie, this is Dave.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
I-
David.
As I read through this, it wasn't clear to me what additional streets we were going to address in this. I saw the list, but I wasn't sure if the whole list was new or if just part of the list was new.
No, that's those are all that's added to the contract.
Okay.
All those are added. So we also took out some Netherwood scope that we took out because of flooding going out there and some
right.
changes we were talking with the town and everything. So
Okay.
basically, and this is, if you remember, our engineer kind of was mistaken in how much we had under the contract for this year for chip sealing and seal coating and crack filling, and this adds about 15%, which is, or just under 15%, which is what we're allowed to add legally under a contract. So we're just kind of catching up with that.
And we got the money in the budget.
And we have the money in the budget.
Yeah,
That's the-
I just wasn't
wanted-
sure. It wasn't clear to me if this list was proposed was all new or existing and new.
No, we asked our after we went through the bids and we realized that there was some work missing from the contract for the funding we had. I asked them to go through and evaluate the roads that they would add, and then these are what they came up with to add, and this
Okay.
is what we came up with to subtract as well.
Okay.
All right, any other questions? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Opposed? All right, motion carries.
Thank you.
Item H, we will have a review. This is a review of the village's revenues with comparison to budget January 1, 2020 through March 31st, 2020.
So generally speaking, we are right on budget. And I think we'll see what happens at the end of the second quarter about COVID-19, the impact. As we get further into the year, it could have a bigger impact, but at this point, we're in good shape after the first quarter.
That's good news.
Yep. Any questions on anything in the budget?
Yeah,
What did you do?
David.
Did you take the checkbook away from Jeff or?
David, did you have a question?
I did. Do we have alternatives in place or alternatives in mind if the budget starts to go south? And have we prioritized where we may have to make cuts?
So we're going to talk about that a little bit later on the agenda, but we're going to have a more in-depth discussion about COVID-19 budget impacts at the next board meeting, David.
Okay.
All right, moving on then to item I, review of the Senior Center's 2019 annual report. And Rachel is with us.
Hello.
Hi, Rachel.
So, when we designed this, we expected to be all in one room when it was presented, and you'd have paper copies of this in front of you where it would make more sense than what you're seeing in front of you right now. It was meant to be printed on 11 by 17 paper and fold in half. So the front is actually in the upper right, and the upper left is the back page, and the centerfold is down below. So 2019 now seems like a different reality and about 1 million years ago, but it's still worth looking back and seeing what we did. So I think the biggest thing we accomplished in 2019 was getting our every 5-year reaccreditation from the state Wisconsin Association of Senior Centers, which meant we met the highest standards for senior centers in the state, which was great. On the front page, you can see our exercise classes were our biggest growth area. We had 767 more classes taken in 2019 than in 2018. We have an average of 142.6 activities what do I want to say, experienced each day. So it might be that there's 30 people engaged in exercise and 43 people who get meals and 20 people come to a movie, and it adds up to an average of 142 a day. So it's busy here. On the left-hand side, you can see how our volunteers contributed. Without our volunteers, we would be in tough shape. They are touching every aspect of life at the center, from helping get meals served and delivered, and helping seniors get to doctor's appointments, and greeting people on the phone and as they come in the door. And altogether, our volunteer hours add up to over 7,800 hours, which, according to the National Independent Sector Organization, which tracks volunteer hours and what they're worth, those are valued at just under $200,000. So thank you to our volunteers for all of those hours in 2019. Then we go down to the second half, which would be your centerfold, which gives you our funding sources and how that money was spent. So you can see some of the services that were provided during the course of the year. As part of our reaccreditation process, we did a large survey of people who participate at the center, and we have recreated some of these survey results for you. This is the percentage of people who agreed or strongly agreed with the following statements. And on the left-hand side, you'll see there's statements about what the impact of the center is on people's lives. And we were really pleased to see what a positive impact we have on seniors in the community that we serve, how many of them feel strongly that their lives are being positively impacted. And on the left-hand side of participant survey results, we see how those participants feel about the staff, the building, how they're treated by the staff's competence. And we're pleased, and I'm not surprised that the staff ranked highly, because I think the staff here is well-trained and capable and very helpful. The things that were new in 2019 included some expanded transportation options, which are really important in a community with no taxi or no bus. So a lot more things going on transportation-wise. We did a couple of new series of classes for people and hired a couple of new substitute staff. So it was a busy year for us. The small type in the lower left tells you some of the things, the kinds of things our case managers are involved with, which are significant issues: financial abuse, housing, severe and persistent mental illness kinds of issues. And in the upper right hand, our little factoid, did you know, our club is one of only 2 state licensed adult day programs affiliated with a senior center in Dane County. And then it says, of the 8 adult day programs in the county that accept seniors, ours has the 4th largest enrollment capacity. And I would note that as of now, we have the 3rd largest enrollment capacity, because St. Mary's Care Center announced over the weekend that they are going to permanently close their adult day program. So we will step into the potential for some local clientele that may have been going there. So that's kind of a look at 2019. I think 2020 is going to look kind of different, but if you have any questions, I'd be happy to try and answer them for you.
Any questions? Yeah.
Oh, I was just going to say, we appreciate the funding. Obviously, if you look at the 2019 funding sources, the village is our top funding source, and we appreciate that support.
Yes, money well spent. Any questions or comments from anyone? Yeah, Jerry.
Yes, Rachel, any reports from the senior community since COVID-19 started, how that's affecting their lives in whatever way?
I think that a lot of seniors are feeling vulnerable. I think that they are really appreciative of the increased meals and food options that have been coming their way, and grocery shopping that has been able to be provided to them on a touchless sort of basis. Mostly people are starting to feel pretty isolated, and we're working to try and ameliorate that to the degree that we can. But for some of our seniors who don't have the kinds of technology that allow them to participate in things like we're doing right now, it's difficult to really impact that social isolation on an ongoing basis. So we spend a lot of time making phone calls.
Thank you. How does someone use your grocery shopping service if you're a senior?
Dane County has a contract with a company called Transit Solutions that provides transportation to our local seniors. And right now, if senior would call us, we would put them in contact with Transit Solutions. They take the senior's grocery list and go shopping and bring the groceries and put them where the person wants them, whether that be in the garage or the front porch, or and give them the receipt, and then they write a check to Transit, and all done.
How do they do that in the
person's groceries, pays for them, brings the groceries back, puts them wherever the person directs them to. They don't even have to go face to face at all.
Okay.
And then they can slip them a check. And doesn't have to be any contact. Senior never has to leave their home.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anything else?
Good job.
All right,
Thanks for your support.
Yes, thank you, Rachel.
Thank you.
Item J, we have a review of the Police Department's 2019 annual report. Jenny, you want to walk us through this?
Yes, I got a few highlights listed here. On page 6, there is a list of the goals that were established and which ones were met are in yellow. We were able to get an additional bicycle officer. There's many benefits to that, and we've already had him out. He's actually on night shift right now. This does help with the theft from autos. He can move around quietly through the village and make any observations and act upon them. We did complete the full accreditation, and I believe it was November of 2019. We assigned our K-9 officer to the Dane County Narcotics and Gang Task Force. That is a huge benefit. Our K-9 officer learned quite a bit about the various ways in which drug dealing goes on and was able to bring back that knowledge to our agency. We did improve our department-wide communication by meeting more often with sergeants and then sergeants with officers. We did add 3 members to the crowd control unit. We've improved our communication with the school district, and I've recently learned that our SRO is interested in working as the SRO next year. So as soon as we're back to school, that'll be ready to go. And we did add a license plate reader system to one of our squad cars, and we began a officer mentoring program with our youth center. Unfortunately, some of that's been put on hold, but we certainly plan on starting that up again. Page 18 covers some of the drug arrests we had in 2019. I thought this one was worth highlighting. It was a very unique contact we had. It was a simple traffic stop. Our officer recognized something was suspicious. Ultimately, the driver of the vehicle ended up working with us. We then partnered with Dane County Narcotics Task Force, and ultimately, in looking at the photographs, they speak volumes. This was the various drugs that were coming into our community that we've now at least stopped one of many from bringing this into our community. So really good arrest, and just again simply off of a traffic stop. See the street values on those, and it's a lot. Page 23, I thought was worth highlighting. This was one that the community had a lot of concern, and rightfully so. This was our Quick Trip self. It was robbed at gunpoint, I believe 5 or 6 a.m., which is pretty uncommon timing wise. And ultimately, our detectives did a wonderful job. They conducted an immediate investigation, were able to link that person to approximately 20 other robberies. The case was ultimately prosecuted, and the person that was responsible for that robbery, the Quick Trip self, in 2019 is now serving 11 years prison sentence for the crimes he's committed. Page 24 is our ICAT crimes. So that's internet crimes against children. Thanks to you providing us a great amount of money to get our officers training. I oversee the training program, and in this day and age, technology is everybody's has their hands in technology. And with that said, internet crimes against children is significant. So we allocated quite a bit of training money to get our detectives up to speed on just the newest trends. And as you can see through some of the information, some of the cases they've been working, it really has made an impact. And we have been able to address some pretty significant issues in our community. If you have not gotten a chance to read that section, I would highly recommend it. Page 32, I discuss our medication drop box. This is, it notes what type of drugs we have taken in our drop box. For those of you that aren't familiar with it, people in the community can come in and drop off medications in what looks like a large metal bin. It's secured to the ground, and people can drop over-the-counter drugs, narcotics, cough medicine, cough drops, you name it, it can go in there. And then ultimately what we do is we package it up just like evidence, but we turn it over to the DEA. It's a program we're a part of. And in 2019, we collected a total of 707 pounds of pharmaceuticals for disposal. That came from our community and will not be dumped in any of the toilets, in the garbage, or any other ideas people have for how to get rid of medications. They will be safely discarded. And then page 45, I don't know if this has ever been brought up as a highlight when discussing our annual reports, but I thought it was important. Our crossing guards, they are all phenomenal people. They get out in the worst of the weather with smiles on their faces. They love the kids, love keeping them safe, and we really appreciate them. We are looking for crossing guards, so if anyone is interested, please apply. We would greatly appreciate that. Also, in the annual report, you'll find information about the various donors that have donated money to our organization to help us purchase various things. We really appreciate those donations. One of the donations was a significant one was for the license plate reader, and another one that helped our officers stay safe was for the traffic vests, and all of that is noted in the annual report. You also see in there our involvement in the various community events. I can tell you we already missed those being locked up with this COVID-19. So internally, we're already trying to think of other ideas so that as soon as some of this is lifted, we can move forward, or in the meantime, we can think of other ways to connect with the community, like reading children's books over Facebook and things like that. Have any questions? I'm not on mute, am I?
No. Any questions for Chief Jenny?
That only happens to Jeff.
I watched Detective Schaub reading the book today with the video. That's for the library, and I thought that was such a great partnership between the library and the police. So thank you for doing that.
Yes. Big thank you to Jennifer and her staff for helping us find some books. We tried to target some of the concerns in our community too, diversity, bullying, things like that. So really appreciate her staff's help with that.
Yes, Amanda.
Just wanted to say nice dance move in the community video.
Yeah, my 9-year-old taught me well. Thank you.
All right, then we will move on. Let's see. We have a review of Acting Police Chief Pagankoff's strategies. We have a note from Village Administrator Mike Grace that after discussing the report with Acting Chief Pagankoff, that he would recommend the board refer the report to the Personnel, Public Safety, and Protection Committee for further discussion. And he's also going to request the report be forwarded to the Police Commission members for their information. So, Mike, no need to talk about that tonight. Do you want us to make a motion to send that to committee?
Unless Jenny just wanted to maybe hit the highlights a little bit tonight,
sure.
and then, if you don't mind.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Sure. And I apologize, I don't have it right in front of me. Thank you.
I'll pull it up. I'll pull it up here.
Thank you, Elise. So in there, as what our traffic looks like, I thought it was important to highlight how we handle traffic, and that we do put a lot of thought into how to address it, whether it's going to be immediately or we put out the speed trailer, and then also looking at the days and times why we're getting complaints about certain traffic, for example, the school, traffic related to the school, and coming up with strategies that way. As you'll see, I think the traffic complaints is pretty well explained. OWIs, that's what our statistics look like right now. Obviously, they'll be a little lower with COVID. Not a lot of people out driving. Pedestrian safety, that's a hot topic here in Oregon. One of the things I've found to be extremely effective is working with community organizations so that this isn't just a police problem, it's a community problem. I think we're going to find more people willing to change their behavior if it's a community addressed issue and not just a law enforcement addressed issue. So you'll see Oregon Area Wellness Coalition mentioned a lot throughout these strategies. We get grant money through them. We strategize with them in the various other areas of the village. Same with bicycle safety. We're working even on a video soon here to discuss just more safety tips. Burglaries. So a question I'm often asked is why don't we have neighborhood associations anymore? The best answer I have for you is it's just so easy to get information transferred from one to another via the internet or email. So we have found that a lot of people would just prefer to open up their email and read any information or social media versus come to a meeting. We'll always try though. So if we are contacted and asked, hey, we start one in this community, we'll try. We're always open to it. And then we will be working on brochures to give various tips for residences and businesses to better protect themselves from a burglary. Patrol assignments, drugs and alcohol. These are just the various things we do to address drugs and alcohol. Again, you'll see a lot of Oregon Wellness, Oregon Cares. We partner with them on a lot of things. Mental health, that is as I put on my goals for long-term would be mental health. And I give a lot of information in my first bulletin about that. I think that is a great program to invest in, hopefully in the immediate future. But that has always been a hot topic. as soon as we're able to do in-person training, we'll do more training on mental health as well. Unfortunately, COVID has really put a damper on some of that. School safety, we've covered a lot of that in some of the meetings that we've had with the school, and those meetings are going very well. And then you'll see issues of race and domestics. I'm working with Alice. We've been in contact a few times recently. Domestics. So I thought this one was interesting. We average about 50 to 60 a year, which that's 4.8 a month to 4.5 a month. That's, for our population, I think that's quite a bit. So we're putting things in place, and you'll see those in the next couple bulletins to try to address any repeated domestic issues going on in certain families. In 2020, we've already seen a significant spike. Like I said, a few weeks ago, we had 5 in 1 week, which is rare. I think we've talked enough about accreditation, but that information's there as well. Citizen complaints, we have a very lengthy and well-detailed policy that covers them. Because I'm the acting chief right now, my role is kind of unique. So as I am the interim, Detective Sergeant Schaub acts in my place as the lieutenant, but it still follows this summary of the policy. And crime victims, this actually does not include the newest with Marcy's Law that has been passed, but this gives you an idea of what we were doing up to that point. I have to look at what this changes, but I believe we are pretty thorough in our work with victims, and you'll see some of that. What I'm happy we do is the 30, 60, 90-day follow-up to make sure the victim gets what they need. A majority of the time, after 30 days, the victim says they don't want any contact with us, which is fine. We will respect that, but at least that leaves that channel open. If they do need to talk to us, we're there. And then below there is just an explanation of what Oregon Cares and Oregon Area Wellness is, in case anyone on the board's not familiar with those two groups.
And I think I just want to say that on behalf of Jenny and me, thank you, Randy, for your comments.
You're welcome.
I know Jenny used them to make the outline even better. So thank you again.
You bet.
So Jeannie, yeah, if you wanted to, I mean, either a motion or I know I'm just going to forward this to the committee and to the commission. If everyone's okay with that, that's what I'll do with the report or the strategies.
Sounds good.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Jenny, for putting that together. All right, then we are moving on to item L. This is discussion and possible action regarding the proclamation recognizing May 17th to the 23rd, 2020 as National Public Works Week. So we have a recommended motion to approve the proclamation.
I'll move, Jeannie.
So we have a motion by Randy and a second by Jenna. All those in favor say aye.
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 Anyone opposed to this? Thank you, Jeff, for your work. We appreciate you.
Well, this is for the guys. This is for the crew.
Please pass on our thanks to them.
I will. Thank you.
Item M, we have FYI. Thank you to Randy Glish and Jeff Rao regarding the Oshkosh, Nebraska water tower lighting event. That was a fun email to get. It's nice to see that there's another lit up Tin Man out there.
So Jeannie, can I just say that this was taken on by one woman who saw our video on the internet, and their Tin Man was due to be demolished within weeks of her contacting Jeff and myself. And they got it on the National Registry. It's the only water tower that is on the National Registry in the entire state of Nebraska. And they have if you saw the video, they have lots of lights, and they can change colors. And they were very nice in the video. They acknowledged Jeff and myself in the video. So we were happy to help them.
Excellent. It's a good success story.
Yeah.
Item N, we have coronavirus information. Item 1 is the governor's Safer at Home updates extended to May 26th. Item A, the police department is dealing with possible high school graduation parade and graduation parties. Good times. We have information on status of summer band concerts. Lots of things in limbo.
Yeah.
Item C, reserving meeting room space in the village-owned buildings and research park shelters. Everything's been canceled. No further reservations have been allowed. That will obviously continue to remain in place until the restrictions are lifted by the governor. And we continue to restrict or not allow reservations in the meeting room space well into summer. And just to remind the public, current closures also include playgrounds, skate parks, basketball courts, public restrooms, and public tennis courts. So all those things are closed until the Safer at Home is lifted. Item D, Public Works Department is installing sneeze guards in the senior center, library, and village hall front office area. And those things are going to stay. They'll become permanent. That's right. Yep. And the schedule is to have those installed prior to the full reopening of any facilities for the public use. I think it's a great idea. Item E, library information regarding curbside pickup by appointment only. And there's frequently asked questions. So that's nice to see the library is open somewhat again. Anything you want to say on that, Jennifer? Everything, how's it going?
It's been, we started on Monday when the first Monday after the new order went in place. The pickup is entirely contactless, so people call or use their web form ahead of time to schedule their appointment. We have all their items ready to go when they arrive. They call when they get there or when they leave their house, and then we leave the item outside. They get out of their vehicle and get it, and there's no contact at all. We started with just items we had waiting for people the day we closed, and so we filled almost all our appointments all week long with that. Now that those individuals have been served, we're opening it up to anyone in the community and just starting to promote it as a service. We also offer wireless printing, so folks who do not have printers at home or just have like a phone as their internet access can send documents that they need to get to print through our website, and then we're able to release those and provide those by curbside pickup as well. So that's a nice resource as well. But the other thing I want to just highlight is our book drop had not been able to be open because of our limited staffing. But now we have it open limited hours on Tuesday from 12 to 4 and Saturday from 8 to noon. So folks who are waiting to return things can do that. And we did extend due dates to July 1st, so nobody will have to worry about bringing things back if they prefer to stay at home.
Excellent. All right, thank you for that update. Appreciate it. Item F, as referenced earlier, we'll have a 2020 budget impact discussion at our next meeting on May 19th. So that will be on the agenda. Item O, this is a discussion of banking services agreement with State Bank of Cross Plains and review of correspondence between State Bank of Cross Plains and village staff. So we have, Mike was good to us and put the actual content of emails into the agenda, so we don't even have to drill down into the packet. I'm not going to read all this. I'll just read the headlines here. So first is information from the November 18th, 2019 Village Board meeting, proposed banking agreement revision. This is the email from the State Bank of Cross Plains. And then we have an email from the State Bank of Cross Plains President and CEO, Jim Tubbs. We then have a banking agreement revision from the State Bank of Cross Plains. And then we have the content of an email to the State Bank of Cross Plains. That's all in the agenda for anyone to read. And then I think where the meat of this comes to is this last one, the review of the April 29th, 2020 email from Samuel Huntington of State Bank of Cross Plains. I think this is what Mike would like us to discuss. So I'll go ahead and read this. So this is from Samuel Huntington, and this is he's providing two options for us to consider. One is incremental changes in the margin above the LGIP according to the following schedule. On May 1st, 2020, the margin would be the LGIP plus 0.5%. On October 1, 2020, the margin would be the LGIP plus 0.35%. On January 1st, 2021, the margin would be the LGIP plus 0.1%. And then second, a change in the margin to the LGIP plus 1% effective in 90 days. Samuel understands that both of these proposed rate structures are a significant departure from the rates in the original agreement. While the LGIP plus 0.1% is above the rate they typically pay to municipalities and is substantially higher than the rates they're able to pay to provide to their for-profit business clients, this is a margin that's sustainable for the bank in the long term. And they're hoping to continue to partner with the village. And LGIP, by the way, stands for Local Government Investment Pool. Is anyone interested in discussing this, or Mike, you want to give us any information? It looks like Mike is suggesting that we go into closed session to discuss this.
That's correct.
Okay.
I'll move that.
Anyone opposed to doing that? Jerry, I'm sorry, what did you say?
I just said I'd move that. I'll make that motion.
Oh, okay, thank you. So we have a motion by Jerry to go into closed session, and we have a second by Jerry. So we have a motion to adjourn into closed session pursuant to Wisconsin State Statute 19.85 parent 1E to discuss the banking services agreement with State Bank of Cross Plains State Bank. So can I have a roll call vote on that, please? Right?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, Donovan,
Yes.
Follig,
Yes.
Glish,
Yes.
Horton,
Yes.
Peterson,
Yes.
Carpenter,
Yes.
and Jacobson.
Yes.
Okay, so we will go into closed session. We will reconvene back into open session. We may take action regarding the village's banking service with the State Bank of Cross Plains in open session. But for right now, it sounds like Elise will put folks who aren't on the board into the Zoom waiting room. And then we will start with closed session whenever Elise tells us that we are ready.
All right, so right now it looks like just the observer and OCA media. I'm gonna ask you to leave the meeting. And then if you want to request to come back in, you'll wait in the waiting room. And then when you hear our voices again, you know that I let you back in and we're back in open session.
So Jeannie, correct me, this is not live still anymore, right? This will not be live?